The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star and I'm joined by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. Before we kick things off, I'd just like to give a gentle reminder to our listeners and viewers to please rate, review and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose the credit union, choose local, choose community. We're back for 2023, and on this week's podcast, we're looking ahead to the Cork Ladies Inter-County season, which gets underway with the start of the Lidl National Football League this weekend. One player who won't be involved is Kinsale's Orla Finn. Finn, a two-time All-Star and six-time All-Ireland winner, breaks the news of her retirement in an exclusive interview with Kieran on today's Star Sport podcast. Cork travel to Mayo on Sunday for their opening fixture, and we're also going to hear from manager Shane Ronayne. Before that, though, we're going to bring you up to speed with some of the stories making the headlines in West Cork sport this week, and we have to start in a very sombre place, unfortunately. It's been a tough few weeks for everyone involved in sport across the county with the passing of the legendary broadcaster Paudie Palmer following an accident. Paudie was much loved and admired, and the outpouring of emotion from people up and down the country and across sporting codes has been absolutely massive. Kieran, you obviously worked closely with Paudie for a number of years on the West Cork Sports Star Awards, and your latest Last Word column, which is available to read on southernstar.ie/sport right now, pays a beautiful tribute to a man you'd become quite close with.
Yeah, Jack, like I say in the column, like Paudie was one of the good guys, and he was just that. Even talking about him, that always brings a smile to your face because there was just so much goodness about that man. He was genuine, caring, sincere, like you name it, he was it. He was just a really, really good guy, and we got to know each other through the West Cork Sports Star Awards, and I'm with the Southern Star going on. It's 11 years now, so I've been working with Paudie since then. But I knew of him, of course, before that because his reputation precedes himself like a top class commentator with C103, and I remember I was working back in Kerry before I think it was the 2009 All Ireland final, and I think he wrote a piece or said a piece about how he wanted Cork to win that game, and that was a Kerry man going against his native county hoping for Cork to win. But you could see how much Cork meant to him. Like he made Cork his home, and he was loved here in Cork more than most locals. He was the most loved Kerry man in Cork, and I think that's a huge tribute to the man. It was just an incredible character, and life is going to be a lot quieter now without him. He's such a colourful, vibrant, energetic man, and he brought so much to the Sports Star Awards. He brought so much to his C103 commentary. He brought so much to every facet of life that he touched. So it's going to, a really sad day for everyone who knows, but especially for his family, for his wife Colette and his daughters Claire and Emily, and his grandson Lucas, and all Paudie's brothers and extended family. You can see the hurt that the county's feeling, but I say but obviously the hurt that they're feeling is a million times more than that.
Yeah, his passing was, of course, quite tragic. But what has been almost inspiring over the last number of weeks since his passing has been the breadth of support that's poured out across West Cork sport, Cork sport, and the whole country, because Paudie was someone who transcended West Cork sport from my point of view. He was a well-known figure everywhere across the country. primarily down to his absolutely brilliant commentaries. The charisma and comedy he brought to match commentaries was unrivaled, in my opinion, because from just working in West Cork over the last 4 years, like he could make, or from my perspective, so that's as familiar as I've been with Paudie's work, he could make the worst Junior B club game feel like it was the most important inter-county All-Ireland final that there's ever been. That was just his way. He just had that magic that you just can't put words on, really. It's just something really, really special that will be greatly missed, I think, by all.
100%. And you mentioned the word charisma, and Paudie was charismatic, the most charismatic man that I met. And you mentioned humor too. Like he was a funny guy. He was so funny. He'd such a sense of humor. And there was so many time at the West Cork Sports Star Awards where we have these monthly presentations. So we'd meet once a month to present the awards to the local sports star. And Paudie would, like, there's a no-go line that we all know. Okay, I can't say this. Paudie saw that line and he jumped over it and he planted his 2 feet on the other side and he just went for it. He always took it that little extra step because he could push it, because he'd so much credit built up with everyone in Cork, because he's such a lovable character that he was able to almost say what he wanted and get away with it. And Jesus, there were so many times I'd be standing beside him, we'd be, for the presentation, we'd be in a line, and I'd be inside like, oh Jesus, he did not just say that. And you're waiting for someone to take it the wrong way, but everyone took it in the Paudie way, like it's a Paudieism, and everyone be smiling and laughing, and it almost became a badge of honour for Paudie to have a quip about you, because he became a celeb here in West Cork. He really did, because like you said, his commentary and his character transcended the radio. Like he was just one of the most popular guys you could meet, and he's left a huge hole, a huge void in everything that he touched. But that outpouring of love for him in the last couple of weeks, I think ever since the accident happened in late December, it's been incredible to see. And from my own point of view, because a lot of the time I'm in the press box with Paudie, so I'd never hear his commentary because I'd be up the back, or I'm obviously covering the game as well. But there've been so many clips played over the last couple of weeks, and it was just great to hear the man in full floor. Like he was just a storyteller, like he was a wordsmith, the way he used to just describe matches and bring them to life. And you can understand why people right across the county, they felt like they knew him, because he had such a personal touch to his commentary. And even the Kilmurray took on Fossa there in the Munster Junior Football Final before Christmas, and even hearing since that, instead of calling David Clifford the best footballer of his generation, instead of calling him David Clifford, he called him Dahi from Fossa. You know, it's just little touches like that. They're like those Paudieisms. Like he brought his own personal touch to commentary, and it just worked. And you couldn't try to imitate him, because you'd fall flat in your face. It just came so naturally to Paudie. Like he was a gifted broadcaster, such a talented commentator. But like I said earlier, he was such a good guy as well. And I think that's why we're all going to miss him so much.
Yeah, very well said, Kieran. Arieste Goreu and Anam Dealish. Elsewhere, Kieran, John Cleary's Cork footballers have made a promising start to their season with impressive McGrath Cup wins over both Kerry and Clare. And they take on Limerick in the final of that competition on Friday evening. And despite this only being a pre-season competition, which I see some pundits calling for it to be cancelled going forward, there have still been some good omens for the season ahead already. And I know, Kieran, for Cork fans who can't make it to Mallow on Friday evening, it will be streamed on the TG Cahir YouTube channel, so there's a chance for people to see this Cork team in action for the first time perhaps this season. So what have you made of the start to life under John Cleary in his guise as first team manager from the very start of the season?
So I know people say it's only the McGrath Cup, and in a sense it is only the McGrath Cup, and we've got to take it in that context. But still, Cork have 2 wins under their belt. They beat Kerry convincingly in the first Wednesday of January, putting 5 goals past them, and they could have had 7 or 8 that day or that night up in Páirc Uí Rinn. And then Cork headed out to West Clare, the wilds of West Clare last weekend, where they beat the home side. So the events, like you said there, to the McGrath Cup final Friday night in Mallow. So I think this is so important for Cork to get those wins under the belt to build momentum. And I think that word momentum, we'll hear about it a lot in the next couple of weeks, because this Cork football team needs momentum. The National League throws in against Meath in just the end of January. I think it's the 29th, if that's a Sunday. So that's not too far away at all. And these games against Kerry, against Clare, and now against Limerick on Friday night give Cork that chance to build momentum and find their best first 15 ahead of the start of the National League, because Cork start off at home to Meath, away to Kildare, and then home to Dublin. So 3 tough games against counties that were Division 1 over the last couple of years. So we'll really find out more about where Cork stand after those first 3 games. But it is so far so good for John Cleary. He's named strong starting teams in the first 2 games. And I find that very interesting, because John is setting out his stall. Like he wants Cork to obviously to win every game, but he's going strong from the very, very start. Like, that was a strong team against Kerry. He made 5 changes for the game against Clare last weekend, but you couldn't say that he weakened the team at all, and they still won 2-10 to 8 points. And it'll be another strong Cork team on Friday night, taking in Sigerson commitments with different players this week. So I think it's been so far so good. No Cork fan, or no one's going to get too carried away with wins in the McGrath Cup, but it just builds that momentum, and it sets Cork up well for the National League. But like I said, it's the league that we're going to judge this Cork team on, and that's where we hope to see progress. But the confidence and the momentum that they're going to take from the McGrath Cup should and will help them when they face Meath in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that confidence and momentum can only be sky high after hammering their near neighbours Kerry in the first round. Obviously, you mentioned Dahi from Fossa earlier and his brother Paudie, who obviously neither were involved in that win, but in that loss for Kerry. But for Cork to score 5 goals against Kerry at any time is worth celebrating. So yeah, sky's the limit for this Cork team. I'm going to call it now. Munster champions, All-Ireland semi-finalists. Let's go, John Cleary. Finally, Kieran, in rugby, and Skibbereen, Munster and Ireland rugby star Gavin Coombs has been making waves once again following his 2-try performance in Munster's 27-23 Champions Cup win over Northampton at Thomond Park last weekend. Huge win for Munster and a huge performance from Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin gave the big performance to match his big 6'6" frame. Another impressive showing. He got 2 tries in the first half. Munster beat Northampton 27-23, so their second Champions Cup win in 2 games, and sets them up now for the weekend. Just the little matter of an away trip against Toulouse on Sunday. That's 3:15 p.m. Irish time. But this is another important showing for Gavin, and Graham Rowntree, the Munster head coach, mentioned it after. Gavin played in that Ireland A team that lost heavily to a New Zealand selection in the RDS in November. That was a bad day at the office for Gavin, but a bad day at the office for a lot of the Irish players too. And off the back of that, we didn't see Gavin feature in the autumn internationals against Fiji and Australia that followed. So in a way, Gavin had some work to do to almost put himself back in the international frame to show Andy Farrell, look at me, look at what I can do. And in fairness, in the last couple of games, he's been really, really good. He's now got 8 tries this season, and he's 29 tries in total for Munster, and he's averaging almost 1 try every 2 games. And Gavin's only 25 years of age. And when you think that Simon Zebo with 69 tries, I think is Munster's record try scorer, like, there's a good bet there if Gavin keeps going on the trajectory that he is, that he will become our Munster's record try scorer, which is incredible for a number 8. You could say, but his form has been very good. As far as I know, the Ireland squad for the Six Nations is being named this week, so I'm sure Gavin's going to feature in that. But hopefully his performances now will show Andy Farrell that Gavin can step up, and he might get a chance. Or maybe not in the Six Nations coming up, because we can't forget there's a World Cup there later in the year, and Gavin wants to be involved in that as well. But I thought it was very interesting that Graham Rowntree, after the win last Sunday, said that Gavin missing out in those autumn internationals, it gave him a kick up the backside, and that Gavin recognised that himself. So maybe it just showed Gavin that he needed just to take it on a step further, because if you remember, he did an incredible breakthrough season there the year before last. He was Munster's Player of the Year. And it's hard to keep that momentum going. And he is only 25. He's still a young player. So it's just great to see Gavin putting his best foot forward, scoring tries, driving that Munster team forward. So hopefully there'll be good news on the international front this week, and hopefully, touch wood, we might see him at some stage of the Six Nations.
And Kieran, just briefly to stick with the Coombs clan for a moment, because you had an interesting story in last week's Southern Star Sport, and that was about Gavin's sister Gillian, who's also making waves in the red of Munster. She made her debut for the province last weekend against Ulster. So first there's Gavin, there's his cousin Liam, and now his sister Gillian, all dominating for Munster. So the future is pretty bright for the Coombs clan.
The Coombs clan has taken over. Yeah, like you said, Gillian made her Munster senior women's debut in that win against Ulster. She actually came on again the weekend just gone in the win against Leinster. So that means the Munster women's team are away to Connacht in Galway this weekend in the Interpro, and a win there will crown Munster as the women's Interpro champions. So we've Gillian Coombs there. Then we've Gavin, her brother, doing what he does. Liam Coombs then scored a brilliant try for Munster the weekend before as well. So it's all going well for the Coombs clan at the moment. And just on that Munster women's team, we also have Enya Breen from Skibbereen is on that team. We also have Abby Salter Townsend from Skibbereen is involved in the squad, and Orhan's Laura Sheehan is in the Munster squad too, and she came on against Leinster the weekend, and I think she started against Ulster the previous week. So very much a strong West Cork contingent in both the Munster women's and men's rugby teams right now.
Absolutely, Kieran. Brilliant stuff. Well, coming up after this short break, we're going to have an exclusive interview with six-time All-Ireland winner and two-time All-Star Orla Finn, who has announced her retirement from the Cork inter-county scene.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Six-time All-Ireland winner Orla Finn has retired from inter-county football. The two-time All-Star forward made her inter-county debut in 2011 and went on to win those 6 All-Ireland titles alongside 6 Division 1 league crowns. And Kieran, she's given you an exclusive interview about her decision to retire. But before we hear from Orla, maybe just sum up what she's meant to Cork ladies football over the last decade or so, because she has been an absolute sensation.
An incredible footballer and a fantastic servant for Cork football over those 12 years. But it's important too to recognise that on and off the pitch, Orla is a class act. Like, she's one of the friends of the show, Jack. We've had her on this podcast so many times over the last couple of years, and anyone who's ever dealt with Orla or crossed paths with her would only have good things to say about her, because she's just one of the nicest people that you could ever meet. And she had a terrific career for Cork. Like you said, there are 6 All-Irelands, 2 All-Stars, 1 in 2016, 1 in 2019. I think there's 6 Division 1 league titles there as well. Obviously, there's a host of Munster senior championships that she's won. And also, she's won an army of fans around the country, because she was just such a classy footballer, such an elegant footballer, and such a dangerous forward as well. And you'll hear now in my chat with Orla quite soon, where I talk about her story. I think it's quite an important story too for young players out there, because when Orla was brought onto the Cork panel first in 2011, that was in that really dominant Eamon Ryan team, where with the Valerie Mulcahy's, the Nolly Cleary's, the Breed Stacks, the Breed Cork's, the Rena Buckley's, like an incredible team. And she was a young player coming on that side, and she had to wait for her chance. She really did. She had to be patient, but she got the reward for that. So I think there's a great lesson there for any young player out there who's, I think everyone now is quite impatient. We want. But sometimes you just have to just trust in the process, wait for your time. And when you get your chance, take your chance. And that's exactly what Orla did. When she got the chance to step up in games, when Eamon brought her on, she took her chance. Eventually, she became a starter. Aoife Fitzgerald took over in 2016 from Eamon Ryan, and that Cork team won an All-Ireland, and Orla was a key player in that. And over the last couple of years, okay, Cork haven't won All-Irelands, but they've been contenders, and the main reason for that has been Orla Finn. So Cork have lost an incredible footballer. They've lost a leader in that dressing room. They've lost a great role model for for young players in that panel and around the county. But nobody can begrudge Orla Finn her retirement. Like I said, she's given so much to Cork. She'll be remembered as one of the county's top forwards. And just from the Star podcast point of view, she's been so good to us over the years. And she was so helpful even yesterday when we had this chat. Like, she goes, I can talk straight away. You know, it's kind of, there was no, but that's just Orla, just a really, really nice person. So we caught up and we had a chat about her decision to step back, what the future holds, her memories with Cork. So I also caught up with Shane Ronayne, and I think we're going to hear from that straight after as well. He's the Cork Ladies football manager, because the Cork Ladies are kicking off their new campaign away to Mayo in the league this Sunday, but they're going to start off without Orla Finn. So you're going to hear from Shane after we hear from Orla first. It's the end of an era for Cork Ladies football, because Orla Finn, our guest on the podcast now, has decided to hang up her inter-county boots. Fill us in on your decision, Orla.
Yeah, I think even last year when I was playing, I kind of had in my head that it might be my last season playing, so I tried to enjoy it as much as I could. I didn't think last year would come to an end the way it did, but look, that's what happened. And walking off the field after losing to Mayo, I was trying to kind of just take it all in, because in my head it was probably the last time I'd be wearing a Cork jersey. It was a difficult decision too, though. I gave it my all for the 12 years, and it will be such a change of lifestyle now for me going forward, but I think I'm ready to move on. And as I say, 12 years is a long time, and I did give it my best for those 12 years, so there's a new chapter in my life starting now, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Like you said there, it was a hard decision to make, because for 12 years, you were such a big part of the Cork football story, and vice versa. So when you kind of sat down to make that decision, was it when you made before the start of last season, or was it during that campaign, or was it when the season was over, you said, okay, that's it? Like, was it always in the back of the mind?
It kind of was in the back of my mind, but then if I had the hunger to go again this year, I would have went again. But I think that hunger kind of went a little bit, and that made the decision a little bit easier then in the end. But I suppose I had the winter months there to kind of think about it a little bit more and stuff. And no, I think for me now personally, I've made the right decision. But come a few months closer to summer and the girls will be playing big matches, I will definitely miss the big occasions and stuff, but there's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes between now and then, and I didn't think I was ready to give it my all this year, give it another year, so I think that helped me make my decision when I wasn't up for putting in that hard training like I've been doing over the last number of years.
What are you going to miss most about not being involved with Cork this year?
I think the friendship with all the girls, you meet them 3-4 times a week. They're some of your best friends, and you kind of take it for granted when you're going through it, and I think I will miss a lot of that friendship and also the buzz of big games as well. When you play a game and if you personally play well or if the team plays well, you have a buzz for a few days, and that's really nice. And I don't think there's anything else in life that might replicate that for me. But I think they're two big things that I'll miss. And I also really liked pushing myself in sport. And, now I won't have Cork football to kind of have to be pushing myself this year, but I'll hopefully find other ways to get the, to get the, I've a lot of things going on, in the future for me. So hopefully I'll be able to replicate the buzz in some way, but I don't know, will anything like Cork football do it for me?
How does it work then, telling the players who are your friends and the management? Is it such a thing as in the WhatsApp group we see Orla Finn has left this group, or how does it actually come about? How did you actually come to tell the players yourself and even talk to Shane about it?
Yeah, I think a lot of the girls kind of knew that I was finishing up, so it was a lot easier to kind of tell some of the girls. And I'd say Shane at the back of his mind as well kind of knew, last year I might have mentioned it once or twice that it possibly was my last year. So I'd say people were kind of ready for my decision, but I just rang Shane and told him, and Shane, he was very good and he took it very well, and he understands that people move on, and that chapter of my life is closed now. But yeah, to the girls, I suppose just writing in a message, it is hard and it is a big thing in your life moving on from that. But look, that's just life, and you have to move on, you have to move forward.
You've had an incredible career with Cork. Look at all the All-Irelands you won, 2 All-Stars as well. Could you ever have envisaged such a brilliant career in the Cork jersey?
No, definitely not. And I think every year, especially my first few years, we won 6 in a row. From 2011 when I started, we won 6 in a row, and I think I'd a hunger then kind of to win the next one and the next one. And I know people told me, if I had won, I'd be happy, but I don't think anyone, when you get one, you want another one, and I suppose I was just so lucky to be part of such a successful team for my first 6 years, and I learned a lot from them girls. But no, like starting off, I never ever imagined my career to be as successful as it was, and I'm very grateful for it. So no, I had great days and great memories.
Kind of put you on the spot now, but pick out the highlights for me over the years. Like we said, you've won so much. Is there any day, match, All-Ireland final that stands out in your memory, Orla?
I suppose my first All-Ireland final was a big one for me. I remember coming in off the bench as a sub, and just winning that. I remember I was going through on goal and I got pulled down for a penalty, and I think it was Ronan Ivukala took the penalty at the end and scored it, and we won the game. So that was my first one. The first time running out into Croke Park was just magical. Like, it's kind of what you dream of as a child, and it was great to be part of it. And I suppose everyone talks about the 2014 All-Ireland final, which was a very big one as well, when we came back from behind, beating Dublin by a point, which no one expected us to. But I think every day you go out, really, it's special. Any day, especially that you play in Croke Park and be able to put on the Cork jersey and run out onto that field, like it's what everyone dreams of doing when they're playing GA. And I was just so lucky to have so many chances to get to play on the big stage and play in Croke Park in front of a crowd. But like there are loads and loads of memories that I have. They're just two big ones that really do stand out to me.
And you got to play with some incredible players along the way, and you also got to play under the great Eamon Ryan. Like, he had a huge influence in your career as well.
Massive influence. Yeah, I was so lucky to have to be under his guidance for, I think it was 5 years. Yeah, the first 5 years, winning 5 All-Irelands with him, my first 5. So, and as I say, those older girls as well, I learned so much from them, kind of unknowns to myself. When I was younger, they were just so driven and so dedicated, and they do anything to win a match. And I think that really helped me going forward then as well.
And there's a great lesson in your career too, Orla, because at the start, you had to be very patient. Like, you had to bide your time and wait for your chance, because you were trying to crack into that incredible Cork team and that incredible Cork attack and stuff. But you waited till you got your chance, and then you took your chance. So that's a great lesson for young players out there, like, who might be impatient that they want it now, but you might have to wait that extra season or two. Just be ready to take your chance and make an impression when you can.
Yeah, you do have to wait, and it's all a mental game kind of when you're that age. I suppose I was lucky because I was actually seeing action in every game that we played. I either started or I came on as a sub, but you just have to take it. Like, you might start one game and the next game then you might be dropped and have to wait and come on as a sub, and it just shows how strong you are mentally, really, that if you can just get over that, and just when you get on the pitch, just say you're going to give it your all no matter what. Yeah, you just have to take the chances when they come, really.
Like we said, there, 12 years, a long time in a Cork jersey. You've obviously seen a lot of changes in that time. What's it like now in terms of preparation compared to was when you started out? Is there much more involved now, kind of even training, recovery, and so on?
Yeah, massive difference. Like, gym and strength work is massive now, whereas it wouldn't have been kind of when I was starting off. I'd say my first few years, like, we wouldn't have seen the inside of a gym, but we would have been pulling and dragging each other on the field then, like psychologists, nutritionists, you have a physio at every session, you'd have doctors, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes now, and video analysis and all that kind of stuff that wouldn't have really been there for my first few years playing with Cork. So the game has changed, and it has grown massively in the last number of years. And you even see it, like, the interest around, All Ireland final day, the thousands and thousands of people who go. My first few years, I'd say it was probably 30,000. Now you're nearing 60,000. Like, so that's just a credit to the game as well.
What's Orla Finn, the supporter, like? Because I'm thinking the Cork ladies kicking off their league campaign this weekend. We're not going to see you in that Cork jersey anymore, so you'll be there in the terraces and the stands cheering them on. So are you a quiet fan? Are you a loud fan? What do you like, Orla?
No, I'd be a quiet fan, yeah. When I'm at games, I'll probably be wishing I was on the field. But look, that's the decision I've made now. And I'm happy with it. But I like the girls, you know, I know that they're working very hard now, and hopefully they'll get off to a good start in the league campaign, and they'll push forward, because there is an All-Ireland in Cork, you know, over the next few years, and just it'd be great for some of them girls don't have any All-Ireland. So like, you know, when you see how much dedication and stuff is going on behind the scenes, it would be lovely for the girls to reap the rewards and to win something in the next few years.
We've had a wait now the last couple of years for Cork's next All-Ireland, and there has been a bit of a change in the guard. Like obviously now you've retired, Martin O'Brien, Anna Terry stepped aside this year, Emer Skelly stepped back from the panel. So I know Shane Ronayne has brought in some younger players as well. Would you think, just given time, that there's enough talent in Cork right now, like you said, there to compete and win another All-Ireland?
There definitely is, yeah. And you see underage, you know, are very strong. It's them girls that are coming up. So it's just the guidance they get given now over the next few years. And I suppose they'll all be in the gym now and trying to get stronger as well, and getting used to the senior game, because there is a bit of a jump from minor to senior. But that'll all come, and those girls are very talented, and there is a bright future for Cork.
Yeah, to offer my congratulations to yourself and Brian. You had a big day at the end of last year, so congrats on that. And like you said, now you're moving on to the next part of your life. So what does the future have in store for Orla Finn?
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose I'll take it as it goes now. I'll just try and enjoy this year now, you know, with no commitments to Cork football. And, you know, we're going to do a little bit of travelling now. This year, you know, we're going to America, West Coast of America for Easter, and Italy, and a few different places in the summer with the teacher holidays. It's good, and we're both teachers, so it's nice. Something I've never done really, kind of, you know, with football, the summer is the busiest time for football usually, so we're going to just take them opportunities and do a little bit of traveling, see a bit of the world for this year anyway.
Is that exciting? So just to think, you're stepping outside the intercounty bubble, like you said, are you great plans for adventures this year, but just to live life in that sense, just away from football for a bit?
I think definitely, I think it's needed, and mentally I think I need it as well. You know, I'm a person who just wants to give my all when I'm at the sport. So like, you know, I think I need to step away and just, you know, I'll still keep fit and stuff, but I won't be under pressure to be, you know, to be competing at a high level, you know. So I think it's time now, and I think I do need that kind of to step back from it and just enjoy other things in life, and go out and meeting friends and stuff, you know, and doing a bit of travelling.
Cork football's last will be Kinsale's game. I'm sure you'll be lining out for Kinsale for years and years to come. But just want to say, Orla, congratulations on such an incredible career with Cork, 12 years. It's one hell of a stint. So congrats on everything, and enjoy your intercounty retirement.
Thanks very much, Kieran.
End of an era for Cork, Shane, with Orla Finn telling us there that she stepped back from intercounty football after 12 years. From a Cork football manager's point of view, what a terrific career she's had for Cork.
Absolutely fantastic. You know, I suppose I was involved before with the late Eamon Ryan, you know, in 14 and 15, and Orla was a huge player for us then, and has continued to be, you know, a massive player for Cork for the last, you know, for those 12 years. You know, I suppose a great player to work with, an unbelievably diligent trainer, you know, really looked after herself all the time. And I suppose, you know, she was a fantastic character as well, you know, very nice girl. And, you know, we're very sorry that she's gone, but I suppose I spoke to her before Christmas, and she said that, you know, she was just out to herself and Brian were just about to get married, and she planned to go on a bit of travelling and things like that. So, look, I again, as I said to any of these people who have stepped away or anything like that, that the door is open, and she, you know, look, she's still young enough, like, but I suppose, look, she's a lot of football played too, Kieran, and look, she's probably settling into married life now, and you know, there's other priorities maybe coming, but look, I couldn't but speak highly enough of Orla. To her, as I said, her character fantastic, and you know, and was a brilliant player as well. Like, and I suppose she's going to be a huge loss within the squad as well, even for our younger players, to see how she prepares for games and how seriously she takes it. And you know, she was always the first at training and out doing her warm up and her, you know, practicing her frees and things like that. You know, a fantastic role model, and you know, as I said, a fantastic person as well. So look, we're very sorry to see her go, but you know, we wish her all the best, because she owes Cork ladies football absolutely nothing. And you know, look, she's going to, you know, probably play away with Kinsale, and you know, she brought great success to them, you know, in their run to the All-Ireland final a few years ago. And you know, so look, she as I said, she's a fantastic player and a fantastic person. So look, we wish her all the best.
As the door closes for one, it opens for another. Like, we've had a couple of players kind of stepping back from Cork. Martin O'Brien retired, Anna Terry stepped aside, Emer Skelly stepped back, and now Orla okay, really, really top class players proven it for Cork over the years. But for the young players coming into the squad and some of the players in there now, it's a chance for players now to stake a claim in this team. So it's very exciting for the players involved with Cork at the moment.
Absolutely. Look, I suppose we brought in a load of minors this year. Any girl who was overage for next year's minor campaign, who was on the minor panel last year with Cork, was given a chance to come in, and we brought in a lot of players from the club scene as well. We went to a lot of matches last autumn, and took in as many games as we could. And we even up until the very end there, we brought in Amy McDonough from Neva Bawn, based on her displays with Neva Bawn later in the year. We probably hadn't seen her earlier in the year, because it was the junior championship. We didn't get to that those earlier games. Look, it's very exciting for them. I think what also helped in the younger players have remarked on it, that there were so many younger players came in. They weren't daunted by the experience, because there were so many of them there. They knew each other, and I suppose, look, there's a very young age profile in the squad. A lot of this, there isn't. There's a couple of the older players are still there, and we've a middle cohort there of 22, 23. But we've a lot of younger players in there, and they fitted in very well. They're training very hard. They have a great attitude. I suppose they have a winning mentality after being successful at underage. And they don't have any fear, which is great. And we feel the work we've done so far since September, is starting to bear fruit. We played Tipping a challenge game there last Friday night, and we were very happy with the way they performed. And training has been going very well. So look, it's very, very exciting, and it's a huge chance for lots of them to get game time in the league when there's not all these senior players around. So we're going to use the league to experiment with a lot of the players.
That's very important too, Shane, to integrate a lot of these young players into this Cork squad, because we still have the Kieran O'Sullivans, the Darren O'Sullivans, like serial winners with huge experience. So for these young players to soak as much knowledge as they can off those experienced players who've been there and done that.
Yeah, look, and I think it'd be like I was talking with Orla, the way she carries herself, the way the likes of the O'Sullivans do, Roisin Phelan, these players, they're consummate professionals, even though they're not professionals, and I think even when those girls come back in around the squad, for training or for gym sessions, the players see how they prepare themselves and how diligently they do everything. And I think that's fantastic for those younger players to see that. And I suppose, look, those younger players would have been down through the years watching in awe maybe of the likes of Darren and Kieran and things like that. And now they're actually sharing a dressing room with them. And, as I said, they haven't been daunted by the experience. They're really enjoying it. And I think the players, I suppose, we're lucky in the fact that we've a nice squad there, and everybody's been made feel very welcome. And the younger players, the younger players are fitting in very well. And I suppose players who played well last year, like Sarah Lee and all, like she's been given a leadership role this year. Emma Cleary, leadership role as well within the squad, and they're kind of looking after different groups for us. And I think they're part of the leadership group that we've set up. And I think, look, it's very exciting, and I think they're learning from the senior players, and they see the standards that they need to meet. I suppose it's a huge step up from minor to senior. But in fairness to them, they've done very well so far. They're working really hard, and they understand that they're coming into they're minor stars from last year. They're now coming into a squad full of minor stars. So I suppose that's a hard thing, I suppose, for them to grasp, maybe, that they mightn't get to see loads of game time straight away, but we'll blood them in, and we know we're not going to expose anybody too early. But there are certainly some of the minors who've really stepped up, and they certainly would see game time next Sunday against Mayo. How
do those leadership groups work within the Cork setup?
Yeah, what we have, we've two vice captains, Emma Cleary and Sarah Lee, and Maura Kellan as captain, and we also have Libby Coppinger then as our fourth member of that leadership group. As Libby is she's a dual player. We have a number of dual players, so we wanted to have that voice there. And I suppose Libby has vast experience. Again, we know again. I think those characters that we have in that group are fantastic leaders. They don't need to be vocal all the time. They lead by example. They're a very calming presence then as well. And look, I suppose they just set the standards, and they had a meeting there last week. They led the team meeting, the players meeting we didn't call it or anything like that. It was the players called themselves, just I suppose to outline the standards that they expect for the year, and the players. It was a very positive meeting, the girls said, and I think we're very happy with the leadership group we have. They will be able to deal with lots of things for us. Little things go on during the year, and I think that's important. Look, every team has them, and we're very happy with the group we have, and we'll liaise with them then every couple of weeks and see if there's any issues that are cropping up, or our message that we want to get back to the players. And sometimes as I said, it's way better coming from players themselves when they're driving it themselves, and they really have driven it since September. They were very anxious to get back going very early.
Amy McDonough there of Naval Ball has been brought into the squad. Can you fill us in on some of the new faces that we might see in the Cork jersey during the league?
Yeah, look, I suppose as centre minors like Abigail Ringno, had an excellent minor campaign and she's playing very well for us. I'd expect her to see game time. There's look, Rachel Lee was obviously there last year, but I think she's going to be a huge player for us this year. We brought in lots of club players as well, like the Lydia McDonough is in as well as Amy. We're hoping to have Rachel Welton in from Castlehaven. She had a very good campaign with Castlehaven, but she's carrying an injury at the moment, so we're not sure exactly what the situation will be. We with her. Quivo Callan is back in the squad from Kinsale. We've Ellen Toomey, who had a brilliant campaign with Glenmire, is involved. We've the two Kylies are huge additions back. They went to America last summer. It was the last opportunity, I suppose, to go on the J1. So when they contacted me last year, look, I gave them a blessing. So look, down the doors. When you come back next year, we want you back. And in fairness to the two of them, now they've really applied themselves since they come home. And I think the two of them are going to have a huge league campaigns for us. And I suppose, look, when you're looking down through the squad, there's an opportunity. I suppose we won't see some of the experienced players for a while. Roisin Phelan has got an extended honeymoon, and the two O'Sullivan girls, Kieran and Kieran, won't be involved at the early stages of the league. They're coming back from injuries. So I think it'll be. Melissa Duggan was away for a few months. She's very refreshed now. She's a great form. She's moved home. She's not in Dublin anymore or Galway. She did a lot of travelling to do in the last few years. So I think you're going to see a new Melissa this year. Look, as I said, Kieran, we're very excited about what's going to happen, because we have so much talent in the squad, and I think there's certainly lots of new faces going to see game time. And I suppose, look, next Sunday against Mayo, it's a daunting trip, I suppose, first day out, and after what happened last year. So look, we're putting a bit of focus on that game. We'll try and mix. We'll probably have plenty of experience out there as well. And try and blood the newer players in. Then we don't want to, I suppose, in any game this year, have too many newer players playing, because I don't think that gives them a chance to shine. There's too much pressure on them. But I think, look, the way we're going to look at it is that, they're going out there, we'll give them plenty of game time. They're not going to be looking over their shoulder, see if they're going to be taken off if there's a big gun coming on instead of them or something like that. Because we want to develop players. We have a big squad at the moment. There's 39, 40 players in there at the moment, training with us. So we have a lot of dual players there as well. We've Orla Finn, Aoife Healy are newer players. They're dueling, and you have Hannah and Hannah Libby as well, and Maeve. So look, it's going to be very exciting, I think, and there's going to be lots of new faces going to get lots of game time in the league.
And one big addition this year is Eric O'Shea, back from obviously played with North Melbourne in the Aussie Rules last year, but she's committed now for the league and championship. To have her back, she was an all-star defender in her last season, which was the year before last. Like that's a big boost for Cork, Shane.
Oh, listen, absolutely. She texted me. She was only after playing a couple of hours. She texted me saying, "Could we meet up at Christmas time?" And I was delighted, because it was that morning I'd seen the story about Vicky Wall being able to play for Meath. So I travelled down to Macroom to have a chat with her, and I was delighted when she said that she was able to commit for the championship and the league. I suppose that was the big thing last year. She wasn't allowed by her club. There was people wondering why she didn't play championship for us last year. She actually wasn't allowed by North Melbourne. Vicky had a different deal with them, and a couple of other players like Dawn and Mackin had a different deal with her club. It's just down to the individual. But this year, I think herself and Vicky spoke to the club together. I think it was helpful that Vicky was there as well. So look, we're delighted with Erica. She was back training 2 days later after the meeting her below Macroom, and she was excellent the other night against Tipperary. She's fitted in seamlessly into the squad. Look, she's a great character, very bubbly. The girls are delighted to have her back. And look, I think she has come on leaps and bounds in the last year. physically, and I think even she's matured, and I think she's going to be huge year for us, I think. And look, as long as we can keep her injury free, she has a big workload. She still has stuff to do. She has to do for North Melbourne, so we just need to work with that with my SLC coach, and look, we'll deal with North Melbourne as well. So we're just trying to make sure she's fresh, because look, I think she's going to be a huge figure for us this year.
You mentioned there that the league throws in this weekend Cork away to Mayo. So looking at the league as a whole, what do you hope to get out of it?
Well, it's going to be difficult to get to the league final. You're looking to probably win 5 or 6 games out of the 7, which is a tall order. I think there's going to be lots of teams take points off each other. I don't think there's going to be a standout team in the league, because some of the teams are very even, and some players aren't back for some counties yet and things like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. So look, we're hoping to, obviously we want to stay up, number one. I know that probably sounds a bit negative, but look, we really are going to, use the league to blood new players, because I think it's very important that we go into the summer, into the championship, where we have a very, very strong squad, and players, I suppose, they're fighting for jerseys. That there's not an automatic team selection, and it's something we definitely need to improve on from last year, that our intensity of training in the lead up to championship games has to go up. And I think if players have got a chance during the league, they know that that they could have a chance during the summer as well. So we're, like as I said, if things go well next Sunday for us, it's we go into the Waterford game then, in great form, and we've the Dubs at home, on the new bank holiday. We have a number of games in TG4, and in Parky Ring. So we're delighted with that, and fair play to Cork GA for allowing us to use Parky Ring. So we've 3 games on TV. They're going to be big games. Paddy's Day, we've Kerry. So look, it's very, very exciting, and as I said, we're really going to use it to develop players, because I think we need a stronger panel, and I think people fighting for jerseys in the summer, and not just that people accepting, I'm not going to get game time. I think people are going to, the way we want it this year now, is that everybody's fighting for a jersey, and every session is intense, as we felt last year, especially in the lead up to the Mayo game, that there was a lack of intensity some nights of training. And look, we have to address that, and that's, I suppose that young blood that we're after, and that has come into the squad. I think they, as I said, they have no fear. So I think they're going to bring up the standards of, we say, the intensity of training. And training so far has been fantastic. And we trained there last Wednesday night, and above in Delaney's, and fair play to them for giving us the facility, because it was an awful night. You couldn't, but the intensity and the work that they put in, the girls, I think, it was reminiscent, actually. It just reminded me of sometimes when we used to train with Eamon out in the farm, and the lights weren't always the greatest out in the farm, and but it just created a great bond, I think. And I think I said to them Wednesday night, if they could play and train like the way they did in that muck, that when we played on a good field, that they could certainly play brilliant football, and they did that Friday night. In the sand-based pitch below in Feathered against Tip. They played some great football, and I think Wednesday night stood to them. In that muck and dirt. So look, as I said, couldn't be happier with them at the moment, and look, we're really looking forward to the weekend.
Great stuff. Hopefully the league will start off on a positive note this Sunday. Best of luck against Mayo, and best of luck this season, Shane. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, Kieran.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Okay, Kieran, before we wrap up the first Star Sport podcast of 2023, let's look ahead to this Thursday's Southern Star Sports section. What can readers expect on Thursday?
Something for everyone as usual. So obviously we have an interview with Orla Finn in her retirement. We've covered the Cork footballers and the Cork hurlers who are through to the Munster Hurling League final as well. But on top of that, huge week last week for the Closter Public Band 3 senior rugby team that enjoyed their first ever win in the Munster Schools Senior Rugby Cup. So I caught up with their coach, Peter Cawley, to chat about that. So we have reaction and pictures from that. And just a nod to Bandon Grammar, also won their game in that competition. So we have 2 West Cork schools advancing in the Munster Schools Rugby Senior Cup, which is terrific to see. I also catch up with Joan Healy, the Ballindine sprinter, in this week's Southern Star, and I think this is quite an interesting read for our listeners, because Joan is the older sister of Phil Healy, But what Joan has decided to do, she is going all in for athletics. She's a teacher up in a secondary school up in Cork City, but she's now gone down to part-time to focus on athletics. And she turned 30 last September, and she'd always earmarked that as her retirement age. But instead of retiring, she's actually after stepping it up because she really wants to make an impression in athletics, and she feels she can, and she doesn't want to retire with any regrets. She's coached by Derval O'Rourke and Marion Heffernan, two well-known names here in Irish athletics. So it's an interesting read as Joan has started off her indoor season, and she's big plans for this year. So all the best to Joan and that, and it's well worth checking out. We also have an interview with Kieran Lynch, the captain of the revitalised Baltimore, who are topping the championship at the moment and very much in the title race there as they look for promotion back to the Premier. It's been a good season so far for Baltimore, and it's no coincidence that Baltimore have taken off since a certain Jack McCarran retired / was forced out of the club because he was weighing them down with his wage demands and just wanting the ball all the time. So make what you want. Jack McCarran steps back from Baltimore and the team hits a new level. So you can read all about that in Thursday Southern Star. But in fairness to Jack, Kieran Lynch doesn't bring you into this piece. We also have the St. Mary's GA Club held a reunion for their 1980 county winning team before Christmas, and we've a lovely report and pictures on that. We've also news on the county leagues that kick off in the next couple of months, and there's the opening round of fixtures for the West Cork teams, and there's loads more in it. Like for a week in January, like we know West Cork sport is happening at the moment, and it's just never quite here, and you'll see that in Thursday's sports section. It is just crammed. And finally, I also have a link between West Cork and a young American skier who will represent Ireland in the upcoming European Youth Olympics in Italy. He has strong links to Skibbereen, so that's another one to check out. So like I said, something for everyone.
Great stuff, Kieran. Sounds like a brilliant addition as always. Just two little pieces of housekeeping to flag before we wrap up. In this Thursday's Southern Star, this will also interest the sports fans out there. We have a free 12-page Get Active supplement featuring easy steps on the road to better health, more energy, and feeling great in 2023. So that's free inside this Thursday's Southern Star. That's Get Active magazine. And then one more thing to flag. Producer Dylan Mangan of this podcast is also the presenter and the producer of our In the News podcast, and on the latest edition of the In the News podcast, which is available wherever you get your podcast. Just go to our website or search Southern Star In the News on any of the major podcast platforms. And Dylan is chatting to Southern Star editor Siobhan Cronin about her recent visit to Auschwitz and a recent court case involving a human rights activist and the SSPX Resistance, a fringe religious group which broke away from mainstream Catholicism over its belief that the modern church became too liberal. And Siobhan and Dylan are discussing the SSPX Resistance links to West Cork. So that's a harrowing listen, I would say, but an important listen too. So I'd flag that to anyone who wants to learn more about the SSPX Resistance and their links to West Cork. That's all we have time for on this week's Star Sport podcast. Thanks for listening, and thanks as well to the aforementioned producer Dylan Mangan. If you enjoy these shows, please make sure to rate, review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Slán Tamil.